Okay, let me try and find my spot. Well, there we go. And well, at age 34, you might describe Ibrahim Mahama as relatively young. But even for that age, he's built an enviable reputation for himself as one of Ghana's most renowned artists. And of course, he's worked on monumental installations all across the country. What does he do? Now, he drapes these buildings with old, worn out and discarded jute sacks used regularly in transporting cocoa and other products from the country. But that is not all. Now, he's also known for collecting scrap metals from Ghana's defunct railway system that was built many, many years ago, in fact, centuries ago, when the British decided to connect Ghana's trade with UK's trade by building railway lines to transport cocoa, manganese and other products to their country. And so in a way, he tries to retell the historical story of trade and partnership between Ghana and the UK. But aside that, if you look right behind me, you'll see that he's also assembled some old aeroplanes in the region. And by the way, we are in the northern region. And this is to give young people, and especially children in this region and the upper part of the country, the opportunity to also see firsthand aeroplanes and experience what it's like to sit in an aeroplane, because he also conducts some simulations for these students. Just for those who may never have seen one before, may never have traveled outside the region or outside the country using these airlines. And so in a way, he's here to also give hope to young people in the region, to let them know that the world is a global village and you don't have to travel far to experience what happens in other parts of the world. So today we're here at the Red Clay Art Institute, and this serves as his home and also more like, what do you call this? A place where people come and experience and witness firsthand what art really means. So let's go in there. Let's meet Ibrahim Mahama, the man that we're celebrating today as part of Ghana's month. And of course, we'll hear from him what it's been like working as a renowned artiste all over the world, and well, how beneficial it has been. Let's go.
Hello, Berla.
Hi, good to see you.
Thank you
Finally
very much
here, it's so hot. Oh my God.
Welcome to Red Clay Studios.
Thank you so much. I love what I'm seeing. And I have so many questions to ask already. But guys, we're finally here. We get to meet the legend. Okay. So we go in here first?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting place. But even before I ask you what this place really represents, I want to know when you started. This is what, Red Clay Arts Institute?
Yes.
When did you start this and why?
I started building this place in 2015. The year before, I had started building this space called SEC, the Savannah Center of Contemporary Arts in town.
Oh, that's not, it's not the same place as here?
It's not the same place.
I figured you just changed the name.
No,
okay.
there are three institutions. There's the Nkrumah Volney, which is this old Kwame Nkrumah building that I bought from the States, and then we turned into a museum.
Okay. Where is that? It's also in Tamale.
In the center of Tamale, in Yane.
Okay.
And then we have the Red Clay. So Red Clay is actually a personal space. It's a studio.
Okay.
I built it as a place to live. So it's actually where I live. It's my home.
You live here?
Yes, I live here.
It's hot.
I know, but
even hot is an understatement. Guys, it is, the sun is not playing. You're used to it?
You get used to it. People have lived here their entire lives, so
I know.
Who are we to complain?
Did you grow up in Tamale?
No, I didn't grow up here.
Where did you grow up?
Accra.
Okay.
Yes.
But why did you move here?
Because I thought that I could contribute something to the community, so I decided to. My family, a lot of my family lives here. My father has lived here, done construction for many years. So when I was finishing my master's, one of the questions I did ask myself was that, how can I move my practice to a community, and how can the practice affect the community? So in turn, I started thinking about institutional building and what it would mean.
So at what point did your career kick off?
When I was doing my master's.
That is when you started these installations?
Yes.
So you started with what, the jute sacks?
Yes, exactly.
When was your first installation and where was it?
My very first jute sack installation was at the Malamata Market in Accra.
Oh, right
in 2012,
okay.
On 21st December. Yeah, it was a very important year because the year before I had traveled to Burkina Faso I had gone to visit a friend of mine and I was stuck at the border for a long time trying to cross. And I saw all these trucks carrying like onions and other things across the borders, but we were stuck at the border. So I was beginning to really think about like what these objects symbolize, commodities and global market, things like that. So when I came back, I started collecting these jute sacks from market women in Malamata and other places, and giving them new sacks, taking the old ones and stitching them together, sometimes with the market women and other kayayes and other collaborators. And we started these installations like covering food stuff in marketplaces, a bridge in Kumasi, the KNUST Museum, buildings in KNUST.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it was around the time that I got international exposure and I went to London to do my first major show. And then
that's just how it started.
Yes, exactly.
We'll come back to this topic, but let's take a look at what is here. And guys, in the meantime, you know what? It's so hot. I've had to hide my tissue, but we have to at least wipe our faces as we move along, and it's totally fine. But what do we have here?
Yeah, so here we have archival materials, as I'd call them, from the railways. These are cabinets that are coming from Secondary. They are cabinets that were used to contain like tools from the trains, workers' clothes and other materials. I collected them more than 5 years ago.
And they were still intact?
Yeah, they were still intact.
Because these were built many years ago.
Yeah, over 100 and something years ago, like 120 years ago. Yeah, so it means that even some of the furniture that the wood that you see today might only be the living testimony of the wood, that particular wood that existed at that time.
But that was our wood because it was our timber.
Exactly.
Because they were exporting timber as well.
Yeah.
So that's what they used to build.
Exactly.
We don't have that kind of quality anymore?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Do you know why? Different. Even though we're
deforestation, we've sold everything. Our economy is based on exports. It's not really based on local
So we do have the quality, but maybe not as much as before.
Yes, as before.
You went to collect this. You had to pay for it?
No, they were things that they were discarding, so I just had to compensate the people there.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were doing some renovation at the railway.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe some of these things will be discarded, but I told them that they are of historical importance.
Yeah.
Even together with the trains, some of the trains which were being scrapped, I collected like some of the suspension, engine parts.
From a train was used?
Yeah, so this is like the suspension of the train.
Okay.
These are archives coming from some of the post-independent industries that were built by Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
So in there you'll find all kinds of things, records.
Yeah. I see payroll 2000.
Exactly.
Payment vouchers March 99, 2002.
But 96. They date back 96. To the 1950s.
Wow.
So there are quite a lot of them. This is just a few of them, but many of them are still in boxes and all that.
And you have the files in there with names of people.
Exactly.
And their payments details.
Everything. Because there were things that they were going to burn. Because you know when old factories are being sold, they just they take the machines, sell them, and then everything else that is in it. So photographs and everything.
I'd want to take a look. Am I allowed though?
Yes, please.
Which one would you recommend
I
take?
Any of them. Yeah,
I want to see what's in there. Yeah. Well, covered in dust, but of course expect that. So 384,000. Wait, what year is this again?
No, some of them.
Oh, this doesn't have any year. So procurement, highest refund. This is what managing director. Yes. There should be a date.
Yeah, 97.
97. Payment of allowance for the month of September. 384,000. Hey, that was a lot of money then. Oh, that's old Ghana cedis.
Yeah, old Ghana cedis. Yes.
Okay, wait, 2000 what?
2007. Yeah, 1997.
97. Okay, so we hadn't done the redenomination yet. Okay, members of staff, transport allowance for Friday. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow. And we were going to discard all this.
A lot of things have been discarded in our country's history. So
for me, heartbreaking.
As a student, that's what I used to do. I used to go around and I used to collect things and I used to preserve. Yeah,
preserve them?
Yeah, preserve.
Because you knew you were going to build an art center like this eventually?
At the time, I didn't know I was going to build an art center.
So why were you collecting them?
Because I love old things. So I like to collect things and I like to read them and I like to understand what they are aesthetically. These are interesting. These are the railway sleepers. You know, when the tracks they go on. So these are some of the original sleepers that were used in creating the first railways. Okay. So if these could speak, they could probably tell us of Ghana's economic and let's say colonial history in the last 120 years.
Have you had to preserve it with some medicine?
Nothing.
So all
we
the
just
wood,
spray them with like chemicals that doesn't allow insects to go into it.
Okay.
With cobwebs and dust, that's fine.
Yeah, that's totally okay. And these were also the lanterns that were used
back in the day.
Yes. And all these were still at the railway site?
Some of these are collected from villages around the country, so from Nsawam and other places. In here, there's a part of it here that might connect more. Okay. So some of
you even have a photo album?
Yeah, a lot of...
Can we just bring that out as well?
Yeah, we can.
Or this not?
No, they're all part of it.
Okay,
so
all right.
We have quite a number of things.
And this desk as well, you picked up from?
Yes. So
wow.
In here, you find
Paints Division of GIHOC.
The Ghana Industrial Holdings Corporation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a lot of these were built by Nkrumah in the post-independent era. So,
okay.
So you see workers experimenting on different paints, household paints.
This
and
is
things
many years ago.
Yeah, many years ago, from the 1950s.
So maybe in the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
So the photographic type, the type of prints, a lot of these techniques, they rarely even exist these days because now we use digital cameras.
Exactly. So this was like a photo studio. What were they creating here?
This is a paint factory. So they used to make like the cans and all these things. Gihok. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I went into the factory doesn't exist anymore. Back then, they were going to burn everything, all these things. So I went in and I collected all of them and I preserved them. And I think it's also important because the North, for a long time, has been disconnected from a lot of these histories.
Yeah.
So I thought that it would be interesting to somehow bring them here, build an institution that could allow for young people to connect.
To also connect. Is it not sad that, and this has been said many times, that we fail to preserve our history? In most cases, we allow people to come, foreigners to come in, experience something, and then go back and retell our history.
Yes.
So sometimes it's diluted.
Yes.
So you don't get the raw facts.
Exactly.
So this is your way of preserving and letting people know what the true story is.
Exactly. And not just a story, because in art, you are not just telling a story, or you're also interpreting and also creating new forms of stories out of it. So I'm also very much interested in what these new stories will come with.
I just want us to take a look at this because I'm not sure if these are carved real. Scary.
Yeah, these are real.
They are real?
Yeah, I collected them from Nsawam also. They are mostly from like West Africa, Mali and other things. So they are they are like
real birds
that normally, they are these big birds that exist in like the sub-Saharan region, and people hunt them. What they do is that they create sculptures like this, figurines like this, and then they create a costume with feathers. So they wear the costume, and then they wear this on top of their head with the costume covered, and then they dance. The birds normally dance. They dance with the birds. So when other birds see them, they think they're
also, okay.
So when they come, they grab them. It's a form of hunting technique.
Oh, yes. In Mali?
Yes, in Mali.
Do you know what it's called? Is it like a festival or it's just...
No, it's not a festival.
It's not
just
a festival.
A traditional hunting technique. There is an old man in Sawam who collected some of these things over the years. So I met him during the pandemic, coronavirus, and yeah, he knew that I had an interest in these old things, so he gave them to me.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, but I think I like what I'm seeing. Let's take a look at here briefly, because these are some of what the mugs, the jugs that they used back in the day.
Back in the day, and then kettle, lanterns, like different types of like lanterns and all that. So for me, I try as much as possible to collect a diverse group of objects as much as possible.
Okay.
So at least we can be able to trace their histories and tell different stories.
All right. I know usually in art galleries you're not allowed to touch. Am I permitted to?
Yeah, you can pick something and look at it.
I just want to see.
Point. Yeah.
I can imagine how many years ago this was used for their tea, their coffee.
In those days when you had this, you were first in town. Like
meanwhile in Ghana now, you have this, they look at you like. But you know it's coming back. People are beginning to collect some of these antiquities, all over again.
Yeah. And but I'm not the type that is interested in collecting things just to keep. I'm interested in collecting them so I can make them public, so all of us can have it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then we have the Ghana survey maps as well. And this is
a hat.
Yeah.
Construction hat that I collected from the old Nkrumah building, which had been abandoned for more than 60 years.
Who knows? Maybe Nkrumah may have worn this briefly. Who knows? Oh, you guys, do you remember the old bottles?
It was also in the building. More than 60 years. It was just down
More
there.
than 60?
Yeah, covered in soil.
I see. Yeah. Oh, so you have to clean it up.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next one and see. I see an old clock.
Yes.
And then what is all this? What is all this?
These are also coming from the railways together with other materials like wood, parts of cabinet, things that were broken.
Okay.
And also part of our own building. When I was building this space, because I wanted to expand it into an institution, I changed the roof twice.
Okay.
And the old materials from the roof, I actually repurposed it and made it into a work that was showing it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't know who used this clock. I mean, you don't have all the history on that.
No,
it would have been nice.
We like the mystery of it because you're collecting it from a space and it was inherited from one person to the other. And eventually maybe someone wants to discard it. But when we collect it and we build institutions with it, it becomes part of a collective history.
What's this? Was it a megaphone or something?
No, these are also lamps.
Lamps.
Head lamps for hunting and things like that. Yeah. So.
Okay. And this would be what?
And these are leathers from the old trains, the trains that were used during the colonial period and also the post-independence era. So this is the interior leather, the first-class coaches and all that.
Okay, yeah. For their seats or for the...
Seats and everything. There's a better example here, which is the armrest.
Ha!
See, the Ghana Railway Corporation. Yeah.
But this is very quality leather then, because you would expect that it should have worn out by now.
Yeah, it's very quality leather. It's just that a lot of the trains in our history in Ghana were scrapped. They were cut into pieces and they were burnt and things like that. So I collected quite a number of residues, and a lot of them are some of the things that you see.
That I'm seeing. Yeah. Do you have any intention of remodeling these trains and setting them up like you've done with the airplanes as well?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. What are these clothes as well? Because these are all smocks.
Yeah,
yes.
These are smocks. They are old. You know, back in the day, we used to produce the smocks with cotton that we're producing here.
Yeah.
Even back in the 70s and before, we had the cotton industry, factories and all that. But a lot of them were also privatized. So now we use threads from China in order to produce.
Is it not sad, Ibrahim?
I know. So I'm interested in us taking these designs that are old, and then maybe we can re-establish the cotton industry, go back in the past and somehow revisit some of the designs that have even been wiped out and recreate them.
But how do you feel when you're collecting these old things? Because for me, every time we celebrate Ghana Month, we celebrate Ghana's independence, and we talk about the number of factories that were functioning under Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah and how we've run down most of our internal productions. It worries me. It breaks my heart because Ghana could have progressed a lot more than we are. How do you feel?
Well, Ghana is almost like a country with no memory. We're very quick to forget. So for me, I think that some of these objects allow us to be able to teleport back into the past. Because I always think that Ghana is once a country that was, people always say, oh, but Ghana can be great. And Ghana was great before.
It was.
You know, so these objects remind us about those things and also give us ways in which we can create
absolutely
new forms.
I guess these are cables from the train.
Yeah, I don't throw anything away. These are cables even from here that we had to do some repair and change them, and I didn't want to throw them away.
I guess. I wish you could see the smokes, but they're pretty dirty. I don't know if we could open them up. No?
Yeah, we can take one and open it up.
Okay,
yes,
which one do we get to see?
One. Okay, let me take this one.
And only God knows which of our ancestors wore this.
Yeah.
Wow. This is old.
Yeah. And you know the stories about some of these things? The
most
most interesting thing to note about these was that when I was collecting them 8 years ago, I collected more than 3,000 pieces across different villages in the north.
In the north.
And the people who owned these things, they wouldn't just give it to you. Some of them, they would have to pee on it or smear or something on it.
Why would they do that?
Because they say that if they give it to you like that, you could use it for juju or something like that. So the only way to disconnect the body from the clothes, because they've inherited it from one generation to the other,
is to poop on it?
To poop on it, and once they do that, it somehow desacralizes the thing, so it detaches the body from it. So that was one of the things that I became even more interested in, that idea that people could somehow think that far and construct. So I thought it was actually quite interesting.
But you had to wash it before putting them here.
Some of them just clean them. It's part of our life.
How? If there's poop in it?
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Do you also believe in that, by the way?
I do believe in it.
Oh, you do believe in it?
I do believe in it,
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
I didn't used to believe in it for a long time, but I've seen some things in my
What did you
short
see?
life, so I believe in
what
some
did
of these
you see?
things.
You want to share?
No, it's just like occupations, ideas around spirits and exorcism and things like that. Like moving back here, I've witnessed some of those things.
You have?
Yeah, when you live in the big cities, there are a lot of things that you're not privy to. Yeah,
and we'll get into that, don't worry. I'm getting there, you know, we're developing. But there's more to see. Yeah. Ibrahim is taking us around, so let's go with him and take a look at the other parts of the Red Clay Art Institute. Let's go. 2, 4, 6 planes. How did you bring them all here?
Well, in the beginning, it started off with my interest in the trains when I was doing second D and all that. And subsequently, because I couldn't get it, I decided, okay, why not try these airplanes? Because I always see the airplanes parked at Kotoka.
Okay. And they were not operational at the time you...
Yes, they were not operational.
Okay.
They had the Air Force planes, which I was interested in, but I couldn't get them.
Oh.
So I went private, and then I got these old Starbow CityLink planes.
You had to pay for them?
Yes, I had to.
Did it cost the mint?
Quite a lot.
Okay, I see. Interesting. So you had to fly them here?
No. We took them apart in Accra. We put them on trucks and then we drove them on road with police escorts all the way and reassembled them.
With police escorts?
Yes,
Why?
Exactly. Yeah, because we were transporting airplanes. Someone might think there's something valuable. For the sake of the drivers and also for the sake of the transport. Because when you're transporting something like that, it's not so common. Yeah. Imagine the number of times that the police will stop you on the road and waste your time and ask you all kinds of questions. But once you are driving with the police,
no questions
asked.
But that's the other downside to it, because if you're also transporting something criminally and you have the police escort, so nobody's going to ask you questions.
No, but with this one, at least we had written a letter to them. They knew what it was.
Okay.
And
so you had to come and reassemble them here.
Everything, yes, exactly.
You've spent a lot. Roughly, how much do you think you spent on it?
With the planes, it cost like 250,000 USD. Yeah.
To buy them?
To buy them and assemble them and transport them.
250 each?
No.
Oh, for all the six?
For all the six.
You had $250,000?
Yeah, but it's just money.
It's not much, is it?
It's just money.
I mean, of course, you make a lot from your art, I'm sure.
Well, it's okay. I won't complain. But at the end of the day, I'm interested in building an institution, so I will invest into it. I think that you can't compare $250,000 to the experience, for instance, that another generation would get from
Exactly.
this. So
do you have investors, by the way? Are you doing this?
All by myself.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I know you have some students. Maybe we can invite some of them, because usually you take them in there, and what do you do in there?
We do drone classes. We also just introduce them to these old technologies.
Okay.
A lot of them would have never even seen an airplane before. So the idea that it's something that becomes part of their experience, it's very important. It's quite revolutionary. It becomes part of their...
This was a private jet?
Yes.
Do you know who owned it?
It's a man, his name was Uli.
Uli?
Yeah, he was a German Swiss guy.
Okay.
He was an engineer in Takrady. He brought it to Ghana. He had bought it in Miami for $150,000.
Okay.
Took it to Europe. It was a 14-seater airplane, made it into a 4-seater private jet, put air condition, blah, blah, blah. It's from the back in the Soviet Union.
Oh, wow.
So the current conflict with Ukraine and Russia, objects like this also allows us to be able to go back into those.
Interesting. Hello. Can we all fit in there?
Oh, no, just a few at a time, like 4 at a time.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah, so we go into the cockpit and then they see how the cockpit is in relation to, let's say.
So hold on. Kids, hold on. We'll take you inside. Let Auntie go first, okay?
Come here, Natina, inside, man.
Oh, so they can go all the way up there?
Yes.
Is it not moving? Oh! Okay. I almost got scared.
Why?
I have a feeling it's moving.
No.
So why am I dizzy?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at what it's like to be in here. We'll also go take a look at the other system. So what do we do?
Okay.
There's something woozy in here.
So in your aeroplane,
I'm not sure what it is.
So ngoma kabaguyang bag kazan in do aeroplane ma. Iban yabo. So ba ngoma. Anya de shama. So ba ma den ma. So nearby engine de pune. Kana bag ngoma. So ngona ma kabazan ma plane ma de tumne kama mambla.
Okay. Well, there's some sort of simulation exercise happening, but I felt a little dizzy in there. I don't know why. I'm not sure if the plane was moving or it was just my mind. But we still have more to see. I think we'll move on to the next one, which is the Starbow discarded flight. And we'll take a look at what that is like in there. You remember Starbow also stopped operation some years ago, right after there was a crash scare. And Ghanaians cried foul, weren't happy with the operations, and so Starbow had to halt its operation, and it hasn't come back since. But one of their flights is there. Let's go take a look. Well, 3 actually, 3 of them. So let's go take a look. How do I say, kids, go back, let me come down. Go here. Okay, let's go. Who wants to come with me? Let's go, bring your hand. Let's go to the other side. Who else? Let's go. Come. How do you say come? How do you say come? Camera.
Aeroplane mapoli.
So let's go inside. Teach me aeroplane mapoli. What language is that? Lagbani. Okay. Teach me aeroplane yabuni. Let's go.
Yeah.
Balim. Small. Gradually. Balim. I'm learning the language, you know. Look at their cute faces too. Jira. Slowly. Yeah. Let's go. Okay, so one simulation exercise also done here, at least just an introduction to a plane firsthand. And the starboard I knew would have seats in the on the sides, and this would be the path for walking. Must be interesting. Hi kids, are you enjoying your experience? Are you enjoying your experience? You are? Are you happy? You're happy? You want to sit in a plane and travel? Okay, so one person should tell me what they have learned so far. Who will tell me? One of you. One person. Want to tell me? You get toffee. Toffee, you want to speak? You want to say something? They like calipo. Okay, so speak. What have you learned? Come. Stand. So what have you learned? Anto yede dagban.
So yele dagban.
Yele dagban.
And he saw lights that he hadn't seen before.
Oh, okay, that's the Nye Lati. Oh, there's another loud one here. You want to talk? There's a girl here who wants to speak. You two come. What did you learn? Niboka Boamfo. What did you learn?
Mother, ask you to I will obey Mother too. I will love Mother too.
Woo! Well, it wasn't an answer. She was saying a poem about her mother and how her mother is taking care of her. Said she love mother. But you have air conditioning here.
Yeah.
The other side, you didn't have any air conditioning in the private jets.
Because this one and the other ones, the other starboard planes, we use them for classrooms. So normally when you come in here, this stand, we have like a huge TV screen on it.
Okay.
And then we have different types of drones here.
Oh,
and then we take the kids through our drone workshops.
I see.
Yes, exactly. Today we're not doing that because today is a Friday. Normally Fridays we don't open. But they came here today, so we had to open.
So you
anyway.
had to. Okay,
yes.
okay. Makes sense then. So where are we moving from here?
We're going back into the main building.
Let's go.
You see me a cat
So where do we go from here?
We're going to the Gimano Sejo,
okay,
which was the first studio space. I told you that I built this place as a studio to live in. So this was originally meant to be my studio where I experiment and make artworks.
Okay.
But I decided to open it up as a public institution.
Okay. Now, where's this? This is sand?
No, this is Gary.
This is Gary?
Yes. The Gary that we eat.
Gary?
Yeah, Gary.
Oh, actually, that's true.
Yeah.
How and why?
So this is a work by a Ghanaian artist, Tracy Thompson.
Okay.
She also studied at KNUST, and she's currently doing a PhD at a university. Her work involves experimentation of food. So like in traditional or classical art where artists would make things called still life, they would paint food and others. She likes to take the food, the material itself, the commodity, and then she would take it through a series of scientific or chemical compositions, and then she would make an artwork out of it. So as part of the exhibition, the current exhibition existing otherwise, she made this contribution to it.
Okay.
So we brought, this Gary was produced in the south. They added dye to the Gary and everything. So that's why they are different colors. And this is Tuo Zafi, which was made here.
Tuo Zafi?
Yes, TZ. Together with Tom Brown and that. Yeah, so we'll cook it and then we'll pour it onto like mosquito net.
Oh, that's mosquito net.
So when it dries, the particles get attached to the fabric.
Net.
Yeah, the net. Yeah, so it almost looks like a textile or a skin or something like that.
Wow.
You're complaining about the heat. The heat is what produces this, all the cracks and all the texture.
Oh, it's the heat, and not because maybe you were a little careful in how you poured.
In other places, probably you wouldn't get the same kind of details and all that. So the weather and everything is also very important to the way the artwork turns out in terms of the aesthetics.
So this room is a work of art on its own?
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's part of the current exhibition, which will go down at the end of May, then another work will come up.
Where will this exhibition happen? Here?
Yes.
Okay, you have an exhibition coming up?
Yes, we do at least 1 or 2 exhibitions every year. We don't do so much because we focus our programs on school kids, workshops and things like that. So it's important to keep the exhibition for a long time. so we can invite the artists to come over and do workshops and things like that. So this place could also be a laboratory. Tracy could set up the gas cooker, whatever here. We cook the tools up here and we experiment with the kids. And the kids can even produce this by themselves.
Exactly.
So if one of them wants to become an artist, at least from that age, they begin to...
They're already...
Yeah. Exactly.
Immersed in
it, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Parliament.
Yes.
Oh, okay, you know what, before we go to Parliament, because you said you're going to show me that, and finally we're here. This is the Parliament.
Yeah, the Parliament of Ghosts.
This is the Parliament of Ghosts?
Yes.
Wait, I'm confused, because I thought the Parliament of Ghosts was in the Whitworth Gallery.
So the Parliament of Ghosts was originally created for the Whitworth in 2019.
Yeah.
As part of this Manchester International Festival. And subsequently, when I came back to Ghana, I decided to build it as an architectural space in Red Clay.
In Red Clay. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So the original work still exists. It's in England.
Okay.
But this is another version of it which I made, which exists as a form of a building.
As to why you named the Parliament of Ghosts, we're yet to find out. But this is still the day show. We're still here with Ibrahim Mahama. He is the owner and founder of the Red Clay Arts Institute in the northern region. In fact, we're in Tamale at the moment. When we get back, we'll talk more about this. Welcome back. Still the day show. We're still here, and this is the Parliament of Ghosts. Okay, so this looks like an auditorium, you know, a place where drama and all those things are done. We can sit somewhere, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, where do we? Maybe we can sit here while we talk. So, tell me about this place and why you named it the Parliament of Hosts. Of Ghosts.
Yes, of
Not
ghosts.
Hosts, of Ghosts. Why?
From the archive room, you could see that we had all these materials coming from the railways and all these post-independent industries. Back as a student, I used to go around the country collecting all the materials, like textiles, wood, paperwork, and all kinds of things. And then I started building Red Clay. Then subsequently I thought, I could build a space where we could bring these things together for educational forms and all that. So 2017, I had a show in London called Fracture.
Okay.
Fragments in a gallery called White Cube. And I was invited at the time to produce a work for the Manchester International Festival. So I conceived a work called Parliament of Ghosts. And at the time I did that because Brexit was happening, you know, and British people were saying, people are coming to take our jobs, but because of politics at the time and all that. And I felt, no, come on, we cannot be saying that. It's lack of education, because if you know what the British Empire did over the years, you wouldn't be talking like this. So I had actually wanted to bring in materials that were related to the history between Ghana, the Commonwealth, the UK and all that, and build this parliament with it. Particularly materials that were decaying, that came from that history, that we could create a space with it that could allow people to somehow use and reflect upon.
I see, but why do you think there's been very little investment in art, in Ghana especially? Because this is such a beautiful place, and I'm just wondering, apart from the pupils who come and visit here, have you gotten any government officials saying, I like this idea, I want to invest, I want to partner, and even project this further, so that instead of you sending all your art outside to go and display it there, maybe you could have an exhibition here and the world could be invited to this place?
Yeah, that was the point from the beginning. I guess art, I think it's the understanding of art and what art is. Because when people think about art, they still think about art in relation to drawing, painting, going to a cultural center and things like that. But art is not so much about what we know, but it's also about the invention of new language. And in doing this, it's been very difficult, honestly. It's very difficult even to get your local politicians to get their attention, because all these years, it's been solo work.
Nobody has visited?
No.
You built this in what, 2015?
Yeah, from 2015 till date.
No politician has visited?
No.
How? Have you sent them invitations?
Yeah, we do programs, exhibitions all the time. We always send invitations out, but it's not.
We have the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
Yeah,
I mean, they should be interested in this.
It hasn't happened yet, but maybe it will happen at some point. But for me, I like the idea that also we're doing this work independently, so you have more freedom to be able to play around and also to be able to at least build an institution in such a way that you can be able to structure it in relation to the future that you foresee
within the institution.
What was it like growing up? Because you said you didn't grow up here. You grew up in Accra.
Yes.
But then to a family that was from the north as well. So I'm sure that those values were instilled in you through and through. Tell me about growing up with your family.
I come from a big family.
Okay.
So polygamy, my father has 4 wives.
Okay.
Plenty
4 wives?
children.
I see. Do you, by any chance, also come from a political family?
No.
So you're not related to former President
No,
Mahama? Oh,
not at all.
okay.
Yeah, I come from a very simple, ordinary family. We mind our own business. Yeah, so my father has 4 wives, many kids. Grew up in a big house, and I grew up in Accra.
Okay.
My side of the family with my moms, and I used to come visit Tamale quite a lot on vacation. And I went to various schools in Accra, boarding school, St. John's.
Oh, okay.
Later went to Star Avenue, then Pope John.
Okay.
And I went to KNUST to do my undergrad to PhD. And then during my undergrad, studying art, philosophy, and other things, I wondered what it would be like to come and live here permanently. So when I started my master's, and I had my first international breakthrough, that was when I decided, why not travel to Tamale and live here, build a studio?
Yeah.
And the idea was just to build a studio, but I didn't, at the time even, I was not so serious about it. But once I started building the studio, and I was coming here more and more often, I realized that, actually it's quite interesting. It's a place that I would like to spend more time. And then I started expanding the institution, buying more land. And
that was it?
That was it.
Your sister was the one that told you to buy this
Yes.
place. She must be very proud of you at this point.
Yeah, my sister Natu. She's my father's first child.
Okay.
Yeah, so she had told me about this place in 2014. That they were selling this land in the Janakang, and residential area. So maybe I'd started building SCCA with my father at the time. He's a contractor, and so I said, okay, let me buy this land and leave it. Maybe one day in the future, 20, 30 years from now, I want to build
come
something.
back, yeah.
So when I bought the land, and then that same year I decided, why not convert SCCA into like an art institution proper? Because I was talking with a Ghanaian older artist, Kofi Dawson, at the time in Accra, about doing a retrospective on his work together with my colleague Bernard Akwe Jackson. So I said, okay, why not build another studio space where I could live? So once I started building this space, I said, maybe I could talk to my neighbors about buying their lands and then expanding the institution. So that's when I started expanding,
Why this style? I mean, you're using red bricks. Is there a particular reason? Is it part of the artistic, inclination for this place, or what's the reason?
The red bricks, actually, the story of the red bricks is that I bought, the first ones came from Kofredua.
Okay.
So there is a friend of mine, Gimano Sejo, he has a brick factory in Kofredua.
Okay.
So he was when I was in uni, he was our external supervisor for the MFA program. So he and a very good professor friend of mine, caricature, were talking in a brewery one time about building studios. And we said, why not build a studio with bricks in Tamale? Because the local architecture here is mostly with mud historically and all that. We said, okay, fine, we can use bricks to build a studio that reflects upon the history, the culture, and things like that. So that's where it came from. And subsequently also, I bought bricks from Winneba and other places. And then we expanded.
Let's briefly talk about the work that you've done outside, because I know that sometime in 2019, you were the youngest Ghanaian to have your art displayed at the Venice Biennale. Tell me about that. How did you get into it?
Venice Biennial, it's in the art world, it's almost like the World Cup. It's a big deal. There's the Venice Biennial and there's Documenta. So Documenta is done in Germany. It happens every 5 years. And it happened after the Second World War because, Hitler had chased a lot of Jews and people, progressives out of Europe. So it was a way of restoring faith back into Europe. So they created this exhibition which somehow displayed the best forms of art in terms of the thinking, the material forms and things like that. So Venice had existed prior to that from like the late 19th century and all that. So every 2 years they bring artists together, so like best artists from around the world. When I was a student in 2014, I had been invited by the curator of the biennial at the time to show my work in the Venice Biennial. At the time I was the youngest artist ever to be shown in it, and also the first black youngest Ghanaian, also living, studying, working in Ghana. And a student, because most people who would see me working in the biennial, and I did a very massive, big installation in there. The curator's name was Onwezo. He's a Nigerian curator. He died a few years ago.
Oh, bless his soul.
Yeah, bless his soul. He was like one of the most revolutionary curators in the world. So when I was there working, and a lot of people would bypass me in the biennial, they thought I was like a worker. So they was, when is the artist coming? Because you know a lot of artists, the exhibition is so prestigious that when they see you there, when you see a lot of artists there, they are either very old or they're dead.
Or they're dead, yeah.
So to see a young black boy, there working, and at the time, Sir David Ajayi, who is working on the cathedral, he was the architect for the entire biennial. He was very good friends with the Queen Wezo. So they had designed the biennial, the pavilions and things like that. So when I was invited, I worked with them, and then we did this massive installation. And it really sent shockwaves across the art world. So people say about, who is this young guy? He's a student, where did he come from, blah, blah, blah. And then my practice took up. Yeah.
Wow. But here we are today, and we have this beautiful structure and all of that. I mean, in the next few years, I'm sure you have a whole plan for what you want this to look like and where you want art to go.
Exactly.
What is your plan?
Well, I dream about building an independent art school where artists, engineers, architects, people can come together and study. Because Ghana is one of the places where if you're studying, I remember when we were in school, now it's changed. When we're studying art and someone was studying architecture, the two courses didn't come together, you know. Whereas in other parts of the world, they were always together, art and architecture. Or here, when you are studying art and someone is studying science, two different
worlds.
Secondary school, when they brought books, this is a true story. When they were bringing books to come and give to us, the bookshop was between the visual arts block and the science block. They would always come and call the visual arts students, come and pack the books from the car and pack it in the bookstore. But when they were going to distribute the books, the science students would be the first people to get it. So there wasn't much respect to art.
For the arts,
but that's what I wanted to change. By building an institution like this that changes our notions or understanding of art forever, where even scientists can come here and practice art or think about their work from an artistic premise. The idea is to turn the place into an art school where people, artists, architects, engineers, scientists, all kinds of people can come through to study, learn. Part of the infrastructure contains cinema halls, which are still under construction outside the parliament.
Oh, so this is not one of them?
No.
I assume that this could be a cinema hall.
Yeah, so at the back we also have a cinema hall. We've also used this place for like lectures. I've given lectures here. We've invited people to give lectures here. We've done performances in here, all kinds of things. We're also going to have archives and other things here in the form of these cabinets that are being built. We're also going to have a library here, a public library. We already have one in town at the SCCA. We'll have another one here. We'll have a photographic school here. Because when I studied in Germany, and I did a residency there a few years ago as part of the DAD, and I bought a photographer.
What DAD means what?
It's a German academic program. But in the
okay.
form of art, it's like a scholarship program, an award that they give artists to come live in the city. And then they pay them just to live there and work. It's like a cultural thing, just to add value to the city.
I see.
Yeah, it happened during the time of the separation of Germany. So it's a very historical thing, which they've kept. Yeah, and then we have the photography studio, which is going to happen. And aside that, also we have the airplanes for our classroom projects, which we're working on. We have more exhibition spaces and also residency spaces. Whereas if you're an intellectual or someone who is coming to the city, you know that there's always like a community you can go. There's room that you can stay in for free. You can interact with other people.
So eventually money will start coming in. Some way, somehow, from those...
No, those ones are all still non-profit ideas I'm talking about. I'm still talking about ideas of expanding wealth of knowledge. So the most important...
Not pocket wealth.
Not pocket wealth, no. Yeah, most of it, all these things I'm talking about, they are not pocket wealth. And then the last, one of the most important things is about the industry I was talking about. So this year, one of the things I wanted to do, if I earned some money, is to invest into brick making. To start making our own bricks and also create, let's say, an industry for making special types of looms that can help us to go back into the histories of design, furniture design and other things, textiles and all that. And lastly, we're going to build a permanent collection space, like a museum, where when you come, all these works of mine that you would see in museums around the world, those works will be there permanently.
Oh, you're bringing them all back?
No, those works are in Europe. But ever since I was a student, I always had a culture of when I'm making a work, I always make sure, like the parliament, I always make sure that the best aspect of it stays here in Ghana. So all those works that you see in the exhibitions internationally,
those are not your best?
No, the best ones are still here in storage and other things.
I see.
Yeah, so when the museum is built, it's also, it's the reason being that a lot of artists from Africa over the years, the West always comes and buys the best work that we have. And then if you want to see a work by some of the top artists from Africa, you have to go to New York or London or other places. But it doesn't have to happen within our generation. For me, it's a disaster and a shame. If the kids that you saw today, they would have to grow up and then the examples of art, they would always have to look on the internet to be able to see. They should be able to see it physically.
Physically, yeah, exactly.
And the institution is one of those examples. So by keeping the physical works, then the conversations around restitution or the white people stole our objects, blah, 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 blah. We will not repeat those same things by thinking that we are just producing for export. We also have to produce for local consumptions in terms of the kids who are growing up.
I like your brain, honestly. I mean, I like your way of thought. I like the fact that even with all the exposure that you've had, you've still thought about Ghana, and not just Ghana, but the northern part of Ghana, to give back to society. And I wish you the best in all of this as well. I know that eventually you're also going to assemble trains here for the kids to also experiment that. So I'm looking forward to coming back here when you've developed even more, so we can take a look at some of the new installations that you have. But so far, so good. Thank you for all the good work you're doing. Ibrahim, thank you so much for speaking to us. Thank you. I mean, this has been enlightening. I've enjoyed my time here, even though it's still very hot. But there's something about brick walls, and I've always been told about it, because it makes your room cooler.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm experiencing that now. But I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and exploration with Ibrahim Mahama. And he's one of Ghana's most renowned artists. In fact, in 2019, he was named as one of the 100 most influential young Africans by the AfricaReports.com. So that's a big deal. And these are the people worth celebrating. And that's why we traveled all the way here just to spotlight him. Expect a lot more of his works. And I'm sure the next exhibition, which is in May, hopefully we'll be able to come back and take a look at it, because you're inviting a lot more people here from across the world. Exactly. This is what we should be doing. We shouldn't always have our artists traveling out and showcasing what they've done. We should also bring in a lot more people, because it adds to our GDP. So let's look forward to that. Hopefully, we'll come back if Ibrahim will sponsor us, you know. But we'll definitely bring you more of that. But thank you so much for staying with us right here on The Day Show, coming to you from Tamale. You mentioned a certain name. What area is this again? Jenamchang. Jenamchang.
Yes.
Jenamchang. Real estate. Oh,
No, it's
residential.
Jenamchang is a village.
Oh, Jenamchang village. Yes. Okay, so this is where we've been coming to you from. And next time you see us, we'll bring you something also exciting, or equally exciting as well. My name is Berla Mundi. This show has been brought to you by Malta Guinness and also by Cousins Baby Wipes. Enjoy the rest of the evening.